Another season of disappointment, and we get to see the Rodgers drama continue, folks. Woohoo! Woohoo! Hello, everybody. Welcome to PackReacts, another episode. I'm your host, Jeremy, along with Mike, as we do PackReacts, and we begin here with the Packers not making it to the postseason for the first time in Matt LaFleur's history as the Packers head coach, and we move into this offseason with Aaron Rodgers once again. Will he return? Will he not return? Does he want? Does he think he can be MVP level again, and now win a Super Bowl again? Another drama all over again. Mike, I'd like to get your thoughts on the Aaron Rodgers saga here as we go through this and the team of not making it to the playoffs since it's been 2 weeks since we've not made lost to Detroit.
Yeah, thanks. I guess I'll start with the team and then I'll segue into Rodgers just because order of operations, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so we didn't do a show last week, unfortunately. I think we were just both too busy.
Yep.
So this is our first time talking since the Packers, unfortunately lost to the Lions and ended the season. I would love to get your thoughts too before I go on a rant like I always do. About kind of like how you felt, because I know I talked to you after the game and you
Yeah.
seemed like you were, you wanted to take a little bit of a break from football, which I get. Honestly, I didn't feel that bad. I got to be honest, because we've been talking about. I feel like we've kind of led ourselves up to this.
Yeah, we did.
So it wasn't a huge letdown. It was like, oh, okay, well, at least maybe this saves us from getting let down later on. I mean, there's no way you could look at this Packers team and say this is a Super Bowl team.
No.
In theory, could they have gotten lucky and made it to the Super Bowl? I guess, but in theory, a lot of things could happen, right? I wouldn't have put any bets on the Packers winning the Super Bowl. So, um, yeah, it's one of those things where I think they were playing on borrowed time. They should have been eliminated a long time ago.
Yeah.
Honestly, Andy Herman put out a video about this. I think honestly the worst case scenario played out, and I'm sure if you go back into our videos, I'd have to figure. I don't remember exactly when I said this, but I said probably the worst case scenario: the Packers don't get eliminated too early, and they make it to the end and get let down in the end, right? Because what can happen there is one, our draft pick's gonna get worse.
Yep.
Two, we didn't get to see Jordan Love play, so that
No.
that opportunity to see Jordan Love play and what he can, showcase on the field. Because, like, look, team sees him in practice, but it's also different on the field during the game. So, I think that was a big missed opportunity, not seeing Jordan Love play. And it was fun during the time. That Vikings game was fun.
Yep.
Keyshawn Nixon's emergence was fun. We had a good time, but only to an extent, right? I want to have a good time winning the Super Bowl, right? I want you and me to go to Green Bay after we win the Super Bowl for the parade or whatever event they have, and hopefully you'll be 21 at that time and we could have a real good time. Even if you're not, I'm sure you're in college now, right? So I'm sure you're
Yes.
having a good time now. Hopefully your parents are watching it. So your grandfather, does your grandfather watch sometime?
Probably right now. He's probably watching right now, Mike. He's probably watching.
There's two people. One is me in the chat, so I don't know who the second one is, but yeah, no, just alcohol. But anyway, the Packers aren't going to win next year the Super Bowl. Let's get serious. So you'll be
Okay.
21 after that, right?
Yes.
Okay. So then when the Packers win the Super Bowl next, we'll go to Green Bay and celebrate. Anyway, um,
Uh,
that's the celebration I want to have, not the fun time for the few weeks, just to get us by, right? And end up being screwing ourselves in the next future years. And I was feared that's what was going to happen, and that's exactly what played out. So honestly,
mhm.
I think this year was the worst case scenario for the Packers. They were just good enough where they didn't blow everything up, and the only thing that would have made the season worse is if they would have blown draft picks at the trade deadline. And all those people that were calling for the Packers to make a trade at the trade deadline, wrong, because there's no way you could have made a trade at the trade deadline that was going to change the trajectory of this team
Yeah.
for the year. And then now, not only did we get a worse draft pick and all this stuff, and we didn't see Jordan Love play, and we're not only in the situation we're in right now, but now we also don't have a draft pick, and we got a player for a year rental that was useless because they weren't going anywhere anyway, right?
Yeah.
So, I know football is about winning games, it's a next week mentality, but ultimately, right? No one's really happy unless you win the Super Bowl, right? That's ultimately what we're playing for, right?
Yes.
Week 1, they come in during training camp. What's their motivation? To win week 5, wins week 6, to go 9-6 in the season, have a winning record? No one cares about that. It's to win a Super Bowl, right? So we can't get that done. Then we got to start looking towards the future. Well, what can we do in the future to get there? Because I want the Super Bowl not to be in 20 years. I want it to be next year. I really want it to be this year, right? But that's not realistic right now. I want it to be
Nope.
next year, and if not next year, it has to be the year after. And if not the year after, like I don't want to be 60 and oh yeah, we the Packers won. Uh, I want it right now. So if anything, this year I think put us back on that path, and that's sad to say. But I don't know. How was your feelings? I know you were more distraught about it.
So basically, it's basically the same with you. It was like as we were mentioning when we had Carson on, I remember you were talking about this, like, don't get your hopes that high when we were talking about like the playoff and Carson was on. It's like, hey, we still have a playoff chance, even though he was a little bit too much of the playoff, like very high about it. I mean, it's still a very good chance possibility, but when I was like going into that Sunday, I was like leading up to the weeks, it was like, all right, I'm not believing this team until I see some winning streak, like the Rams game. We won that and the Bears too. And then I was like, I'm not gonna believe until we beat like good teams like Minnesota and Minnesota,
Miami.
Miami. Thank you, Miami. And I'm like, okay, now I got some optimism here. Like, okay, you have this one chance. Can you run the table and win this? And I knew going into that game like that night when the Seahawks lost, I'm like, okay, this is not going to go well because you're going to see some trick plays from the Lions and they're going to be more aggressive and they just have better mentality than they did and better execution. And I was just like, I'm not surprised at this team because of what we've seen from this year. Did we deserve to make the playoffs? No. Was I really shocked by the end of the result of us losing to the Lions? No, not really. I mean, it's always a pain in the butt, like for us and any NFL fan out there, of like when your team loses the day after the night of your team like loses the playoffs or loses like to make it to like a big win or something like that. It's always depressing. And that was me a bit. Like I was like, when is this team ever going to wake up? When are we ever going to win the show? Because we've had so many chances with Devontae Adams in the 2020 season during COVID, 2021 season. We had it in 2019, the NFC Championship game, 2014, 2016. Like there's so many years that have just been annoying of like, we're right there. We're like, you're right at the end of the river or at the beginning of the river and you're about to finish like the ride or something like that. And we always come up short. And that's always been the biggest disappointment as a Packer fan. I don't know if that's for you also, but that's been the always annoying thing. And I'm kind of glad. I mean, I was really hoping for us to make the playoffs, but in real, like at reality wise, like, did we think we are gonna win the Super Bowl? Probably not. Did we think we might have a playoff chance to get lucky? Maybe. But we are going to go against the 49ers, and we know every time when we go against the 49ers with Rodgers, we always lose. We're 0-5 against them with Rodgers. So
In the playoffs,
I'm
right?
yeah, in the playoffs. And I'm kind of like I'm still annoyed, but I mean that's kind of like a better result of like, okay, we weren't going to get blown out like on national live television from the 49ers like the Seahawks kind of did. We did maintain a draft pick, but when you're going to go, I mean, we did talk about like you were mentioning with the draft pick of trading and how it wasn't going to help. Like you look at the Chase Claypool trade, Packers were about to get him, and then the Bears make up a better offer, the same exact offer. It's just the Bears would have a higher percent chance of not doing so well. And now, if we did that, we wouldn't have a second round pick. But look at the Steelers right now; they have the 32nd
Yeah,
overall
that
pick.
was a great trade for them. It was a
Yeah,
great thing for them that they didn't go to the Packers. That would have been terrible. It would have been absolutely
exactly.
terrible.
Yes. So
So they were
yeah,
right.
that's where I'm like, okay, I'm kind of glad we didn't get it, but at the same time, I'm like, can Gutekunst, like, can he just be aggressive once again? And like, can we get maybe a DeAndre Hopkins, which I really doubt that's going to happen. I don't see that happening, but it's a dream scenario that can happen. And so once again, we're here, and it's just disappointing once again to see the Packers not able to get the job done. I wish we'd be in the playoffs. right now and be better than the Giants. I mean, it was fun watching the Giants beat the Vikings, but at the same time, it's just the same thing for me. It's just annoying, annoying, annoying. Like we're always right there, and we just can't get the job done. That's been my thoughts on the Packers towards the end of the season.
Right.
So
And so what the biggest disappointment for me, right, during all these years, and it's just been year after year disappointment was last year. I mean, there's obviously been other disappointments like the Seattle year when
yeah,
the Brandon Bostic
yeah,
play that was disappointing. The year against the Giants when they went 15-1, that was disappointing. Other NFC Championship losses disappointing. But really, last year was a killer for us, and I'll tell you why. The Packers had this year. The Packers had nothing in front of it, right? It would have been a miracle to make the Super Bowl. Last year, they had everything going for them, right? First year ever that there's only one bye team. Packers get it, right? It's the only team with a bye, right?
mm-hmm.
Home field advantage throughout the playoffs. They were getting healthy. Jair Alexander was coming back. Zadarius Smith was coming back.
Bakhtiari.
Bakhtiari, in theory, was coming back. Uh, all this stuff was like hitting right at the right time, and we thought like, okay, we're gonna make a run. Everything is lined up, and it felt right. It really did. It felt right. This year felt wrong after you saw them play, but everything last year felt right. All they need to do, like I said, they have the home field advantage in front of them. They need to win 2 games. Once against San Francisco, who wasn't that great last year, led by Jimmy Garoppolo, right? He was the
Mm-hmm.
quarterback last year
With a thumb
um,
injury.
with an injury. Uh, we still have Devontae Adams. Aaron Rodgers had a career year. Those 2 players. The defense was looking okay. Special teams atrocious. The reason why we lost last year. If you put this year's special teams on last year's team, Packers probably win the Super Bowl.
Probably.
Just a you know to add that there. But you know, you beat the 49ers, and who do they play next? We're going to play the Rams, right?
Yep.
So they would have played the Rams, who honestly had just lost in Lambeau, didn't lost the year before in Lambeau, didn't have much success in Green Bay, right? Go
Mm-hmm.
to the Super Bowl, play the Bengals.
Yep.
I mean, I like the Bengals as a team, but last year, they were still young, and a young team winning everything that's not even expected to be there, kind of unlikely. So the Packers last year had everything in front. I mean, not that you knew that the Bengals were going to make it, but
Yeah.
they had everything in front of them. We had the tickets to go to the game, like on a personal note, right? You just had to win that one game, and we would have gone to the NFC Championship game.
Mm-hmm.
So last year was disappointing. I got to say, I was real sad after last year. I, and the other problem, Packers look great coming out of that game, right?
They
I
did.
literally said to somebody, I probably jinxed us. I said this is the best the Packers I've seen. I've watched the Packers. I'm 27 now. I've watched them since I'm like 11 or 12. So for 16 years, I've watched the Packers game in, game out. I've missed maybe 1 or 2 games over the 16-year span. I said this is the best I've seen the Packers play in 5 minutes, whatever, right? And then Mercedes Lewis fumbles the ball.
Yep.
Everything went downhill from there. It would
Yep.
end up being one of the worst I've ever seen the Packers play after that. So you go from the best beginning of the game to one fumble and into worst play I've ever seen. And yeah, I mean, very disappointing last year. This year, you could see this team wasn't cut out for it. Losing Devontae was a huge loss for us. The defense never stood up to where it should have been. Special teams played well, but they still had its problems places. And yeah, this was just not a Super Bowl caliber team. Honestly, I said this is the worst case scenario we could have had, and it's 99.9% the worst case scenario we could have had. The one actual bright spot of this season was actually losing to the Lions, and I'll explain to you why. Now people are going to say like, "Oh, you're rooting for them to lose. We could have made the playoffs," but okay, even if we made the playoffs, we're not going to win a Super Bowl, right?
Yeah.
So, one, you get a worse draft pick. So I just did the math here. The Packers now have the 15th pick in the draft,
Yes.
right?
Good pick.
So if they win that game and make the playoffs, right? Washington is behind them right now. Washington was not making the playoffs,
Yep.
so they would have been above us. So that's one pick we lose. Same thing with Pittsburgh. Same thought process there. Same thing with the Lions. Same thought process there. So that's 3 picks they would have moved down already. Now we get to playoff teams, right? So now I got and Seattle would have taken our spot. So now we get to the 19th pick. So this is the earliest in theory we could have had. If we would have won that game, we would have ended 9-8, right?
Yes.
So uh, Tampa Bay was 8-9 going into the playoffs because they came in as a what do you call it? A divisional
Division
playoffs.
one.
They would have had a worse record than the Packers actually.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so Tampa Bay losing, they get the 19th pick no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
So if the Packers would have won that game, they would have ended up 9-8. Let's say in theory they lost to the 49ers. Obviously, if they won to the 49ers, then your draft pick's going to be worse, but then also you have a chance to keep moving forward, right? So that would be a positive. So I'm saying, assuming for this scenario, the Packers lost to the 49ers,
Mm-hmm.
but they would have beat the Lions. The draft pick they would have had was a 20th draft pick.
Mm-hmm.
So now he would have dropped 5 picks down just to play one game, right?
Yeah.
That draft pick is useful, right? I mean, those 5 spots, it's worth a lot. You know, if you move from the
Yeah.
20th pick to the 15th pick, I'm not a draft expert in terms of those big boards where they say what their compensation should have been,
Yeah.
but losing that game saved us all that compensation.
Yeah.
That's a positive. There's a second positive. Because we lost to the Lions, they ended up 9-8. We ended up 8-9, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they have a better record than us. And some people would be like, well, why would we want to have a worse record than the Lions? And I'll say, for a lot of reasons, actually. Uh, Neither team made the playoffs, right? So it doesn't matter. Who cares if I went 1-15 and you went 8-9 and you made the playoffs? I know you can say, well, the team's worse, whatever. Ignore all that hypothetical stuff. I'm just looking at facts on paper.
Yep.
We have the 3rd seed in the NFC North. The Lions have the 2nd seed. So just for strength of schedule for next year, right? Who do the Packers play instead? Also, there's a personal preference here for me. So now there's in the past, right? The seeding for the 2 conference, the 2 divisions in your NFC game, like those games, you know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
you play 6 games against your division, right? A year. You play 4 teams in the other conference. You play 4 teams in the other division that lines up, right? So that's 14 teams, and there's 2 games left in a 16-game season, right? And you
Yeah.
play based off of your ranking, first, second, third, all the other divisions in the NFC, right? But now this year, or starting last year, there's 3 games that are determined by what ranking you're in, right? So, uh, so we're playing the South, I think.
Yes. We're playing the NFC South and the AFC West.
Oh, let me just pull that up in 1 second. NFL schedule 2023.
Which I
Right, so we're
think
playing the NFC South, AFC West. You're correct about that. So, and then the AFC North is the um,
Steelers.
right, but that's the AFC game, the 17th
Yeah.
game that got added. So you're playing the Steelers instead of the Ravens, which in theory might not be good because if Lamar Jackson's not there, the Ravens might not be that good next year.
I,
But that's one difference, right? So instead of going to Baltimore, you go to Pittsburgh.
I think
Um,
I think it favors us if we're playing Pittsburgh because I think after hearing the reports today about Lamar Jackson, I don't want to jump to conclusions already, but they're pretty much going to keep him from what John Harbaugh said. It's going to be 200%. He's probably going to stay. So if I figure that, he's guaranteed to at least play on the franchise tag or he signs a new deal. So he's probably going to stay with the Ravens just for next season, is what I'm going to say. That's just my speculation.
right. So that's one distinction. You don't play the Ravens, you play the Steelers. Uh, Maybe not good for you because you seem to go to Ravens games sometimes. So that probably would have been good for you if
I
we
mean,
played the Ravens.
that would have been good for me, actually.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that would have been.
So okay, so that's a bad thing for you, but um,
Yeah.
we play the Rams instead of Seahawks. Might be a bad thing, but Aaron Donald may not be back next year, right? So is that team really going to ascend? I don't know. They have no draft
Well,
picks, right? Don't forget they
well,
have no draft picks.
I mean, I heard the reports that Aaron Donald is going to play next year.
You did, even though he
Yes.
put it on his thing that he's a former NFL player. He's trying to mess around with
Yes.
people.
Yes. He cleared it out. When I was checking the recent news today, I don't know what source, but when I kept looking at the Aaron Donald like news kind of thing, is he was clarifying on Twitter that I'm going to play. I never said I was not going to retire. I never said I was retired. I said I was going to play the next year. So that
I think he's a former player. I don't know. whatever. We'll see if that happens. Regardless,
That that
you know,
one.
that's who we're playing, the Rams instead of the Seahawks. The big thing for me, and this is again, the Ravens was bad for you, but instead of playing the Cowboys in Dallas, we're playing the Giants in New York, so I get to go to that game. That's my big thing
Yeah,
because
come on.
so that's my big thing.
Lucky,
Uh, I mean,
lucky.
you can come too. It's not that far of a drive. Take
Uh,
a take a what do you call it? Take
SEPTA
a
Uber.
train up. You could take a train up.
Yeah, I'll take SEPTA.
Amtrak, yeah, or SEPTA. Is that what it is? I've never gone from.
SEPTA's the Philadelphia like main. It's our
And it
main.
goes to New Jersey.
Uh,
The
I think it's
Amtrak. I think
I think
Amtrak definitely does.
I think it might
I
be
don't know.
it might be a connection. Like you go from SEPTA to Amtrak and then you go up.
Yeah, you probably have to go Amtrak. Yeah. But whatever. So I'm definitely gonna go to the New York Giants game next year, and then, well, I mean, this is something interesting we could do. Let's think about what games. I mean, obviously, we don't have the schedule, we don't have the dates, we don't have the times. We have teams, so we can look what games in Lambeau would be interesting to go to. You want to talk about this?
Sure,
All right, let me
sure.
share my screen. I
Okay.
think this is interesting.
I mean, the day after, I will clarify this. The day after that, when we lost to the Lions, I thought I was looking at that schedule and looking to see what would it be like with Aaron Rodgers back in if he stayed. So I would put, yeah. So I would, I was thinking like maybe we have a good chance because of how much opponents we were playing. So that's what I think we
Yeah,
have a good chance given
we'll
our
talk about
schedule.
Rodgers. I haven't
Yeah,
got to that part yet.
yeah.
Okay, so in Atlanta, I mean, that'd be an interesting game to go to. Atlanta's not that hard to get to in terms of they have a huge airport. Interesting game to go to. And I would like to see that stadium. It seems like a real nice stadium.
You want
Maybe
to
I'm
know
thinking about
interesting?
going.
You want
Maybe
to
I
know
think I'd
interesting
go.
fact about that stadium?
What?
They have a Chick-fil-A is one of their own is one of the stadium owners, and
No, I know that. They're not open on Sundays.
yeah, they have a Chick-fil-A in there. They don't open on
Yeah,
Sunday.
right, exactly. I know that. Yeah, Chick-fil-A is like super religious, so yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so at Carolina, might
Ooh.
go to that game. I have a few friends that are Carolina Panthers fans, so in theory, but honestly, I don't think the Packers will be very good this year. Next year, so I probably shouldn't travel that much just to see this team play. At Chicago, that's to be known.
Well,
At Denver, interesting. I mean, Denver is a cool city, so that'd be an interesting
yes.
place to go to. At Detroit, at home against Chicago,
Yeah.
um, at home against Detroit. This is obvious. In At home against the Saints, that'd be an interesting game to go to.
That
But
would
I
be.
don't think the Saints are gonna be very good next year, so I don't know.
I think
Um,
they're going to be the best one out of the South. I think
yeah,
because
you don't think the Falcons maybe?
well, I mean, you look at the quarterback situation. You have Desmond Ritter. You have Marcus Mariota. But with the Panthers, or no, with the Saints, I would say is they have like the weapons. They just need the quarterback, and I think they're a quarterback ahead of the Falcons. But I think the better overall team is the Panthers, though.
Yeah, I would agree. It's just a question there is quarterback and
Yeah,
Carolina. Um, but uh, but yeah, I mean, honestly, that's a great schedule playing the NFC South next year. The NFC South sucks,
it's
especially they
just
might be losing Tom Brady.
exactly, exactly. Which he probably would go to the Raiders at this point, and I don't want that
Why? What do you care?
because he'd be going with Devontae Adams, and it'd just be annoying to see
I
him.
know. I get it.
It would be annoying. That
I
but
agree.
that's my point. I mean, I don't I'm fine with him going to Rams, but it'd just be like annoying to watch him with Devontae. And I'm like, why? Where's that relationship again?
Yeah, I got you. Um, at home against the Chargers. That actually, I think, is the game I want to go to. I'd love to see Justin Herbert play.
That
I'd love
would
to see Justin
I
Herbert play.
actually I actually like that. I do like that. Real. I mean, I'm just trying to see here.
Obviously, we don't know the times now, so and
Yeah,
that might be a
I would
prime time game. That
I
might
would
be a
like that.
prime. Would you
I
go to
would
that game? I mean, obviously, we don't know the date, so we can't commit to
if
it,
it's
right?
if yeah I
But
can't
if the dates work,
if the
right,
dates work
that'd
I
be a
would do
good
that.
game to go,
I
right?
I would do that. Yeah, the
Because
dates
that'd be
work.
cool to see Justin Herbert play. We could see Corey Linsley play. You know, I'm not that you really care about the line, but I really just want to see Justin Herbert play. I like Justin Herbert a lot.
I'm a fan of
Um,
Justin Herbert.
I am too. So honestly, that's my number one game to go to right now. Kansas
Also,
City would be interesting. Obviously, to see Mahomes play, but I think that's going to be an expensive game.
that
It's
would
going to be
be
hard to
very
get those tickets. I mean, I'm sure LA is going to be expensive too. Or maybe not because nobody likes the Chargers, right?
Well,
I mean, it's still
I
gonna be
mean
expensive because it's
that's
a Packers game, but like it's not gonna be like Kansas City, like Mahomes. In
yeah.
theory,
That,
Rodgers or just Mahomes Packers, right?
I mean, that would be
If
very
Rodgers isn't
fun to
there,
watch. That would be very fun to watch. Of a like you would basically see a father versus son kind of duel because you see that because people project Patrick Mahomes the next Aaron Rodgers. So I don't know. That's a very fun, favorable matchup. I would like to, but the expensive price, I prefer the
yeah,
Chargers.
me too. And also, they're probably gonna lose against Kansas City, and I don't
Well,
want to go all the way out
probably.
there to watch them lose. I mean, they're probably gonna lose against the Chargers too. Let's get serious, but um, whatever. I think that's cool. I want to see just. I like Justin Herbert a lot. Coming out of college, everyone was down on him, and I was up on him. I was like, if he falls to Green Bay, let's pick Justin Herbert. That year, right? I wasn't against picking a quarterback. I was like, is there one quarterback in this draft I want? It's Justin Herbert. If he falls, because at that point I thought that was a great value at this point. Jordan Love, I didn't understand. I said, why are we going to trade up for a guy that we probably could have gotten in the second round? You could have traded up in the second round for him if we really wanted him that bad. Why am I getting him in the first, trading up, giving him all this stuff? I should have traded up in the second round. Um, if Justin Herbert fell all the way back, which some people were mocking him to fall, right? They were saying this
Yeah,
guy's
so
no good.
it's
And they were totally wrong. I saw him in the combine. This guy's throwing lasers down the field. I'm like, what are people missing here? This guy's got a great arm.
wonder
And
where
he
did
looked good in college too. What are we missing with Justin Herbert? Like, what am I missing? I would love to know. And I was right. Even though I mean they lost, but he's I think he's a great player.
I think he's a great player. I'm actually wondering where did I put him? I did the mock draft. I remember my 2020, and I'm trying to see where the heck did I put him in my mock. I actually want to wonder that right now.
Yeah.
I want to see. Let me see if I can find the video real quick.
All right. So that's anybody who's watching and wants to come to our PackReacts meetup in Lambeau next year. That's gonna have two people here,
So
me and Jeremy, and anybody else that we bring with us. Because I doubt anyone's gonna be watching this. But if you are interested, right now the Chargers game is number one option if the dates work. Right. We don't know what the dates and time work, so we can't guarantee it. But just looking at the teams, I think that's a good option. Uh,
all right, let me look to see what did I have. Let me see. Do you mind if I share my screen real quick?
yeah, sure, you can take it.
All right.
That Las Vegas Raiders game, though, that's an interesting game. It's in Las Vegas. Apparently, that stadium's really cool, and you can go to Vegas too. I might go to that game too. Fuck it. I
I
might
mean,
tell my friend who's a Raiders fan to come with me.
see, I could go there theoretically next year, but it's not for the Packers. It's for the Super Bowl. I could theoretically go there because of my school of working. So yeah, that
Oh,
could
for
be
the Super Bowl.
yeah. That's
No,
theoretical, but I highly doubt that. I thought
I doubt. I mean, you really think that comes? What do they pick? Like two people or something?
no, they take like five, but they take like seniority seniors. So like my senior year, I would probably get picked and get to go to New Orleans.
And they pay for like the hotel and stuff. Like, who's paying for it?
Well, we get well, they do a fundraiser, but you do have to pay like you definitely have to pay like a fee. You can't pay it all, but they do help pay out like some of the stuff though.
Hmm.
So yeah, that's it. But let me share my screen real quick. Let me see what the how much I definitely did well in that draft, but I hit a bunch of like terrible picks. I remember like I think I had Justin Fields mocked to the 49ers. Yep, right there. Oh boy. Let's see. Let me see. I had Trevor, Zach, Kyle Pitts.
You're right there. Chase
That's
instead of Waddle.
I did.
Devonta
Yeah.
Smith to the Lions. That's interesting.
I picked Micah Parsons to
Carolina.
Carolina.
They should have picked him there.
I was questioning that move. Trey Lance to the Broncos. Oh, hold on.
Honestly, I like your draft better than how it played out.
I was very that one. I was very good on during that. So let me see if I can.
Well, but
So I
this is
had
not
Trey Lance.
the Herbert. This is not the Herbert draft. This is year
Is it
after.
not? I thought this is the year.
No, this is the year
Oh,
after.
I thought. Wait, is it? Uh,
No, it's not.
that's not. Okay, well, that was my other draft pick. If you guys ever want to watch it, so. But I do remember.
Shameless
I don't.
plug.
Yeah, shameless. Okay, well, let me stop sharing my screen then. So much for that. So much for that. But I did remember I had him mocked like low. I had him like I had him like up towards like the highest teens is what I can remember my last time I did the
You were
mock.
wrong too. So
Yeah, I was. I remember that because I was projecting him maybe a bust, but I was thinking Tua's more the bust. I said Tua's gonna be a bust as soon as he came out of college.
Both ended up okay, but I mean, I'd rather
Yeah,
have Herbert than Tua. But yeah, I mean, just looking at the rest of these games, I mean, Rams and Lambeau, I'm not too excited about that. They've been there a bunch of times in the past few years, so not that exciting. Giants game I'll be at, so if anyone's interested. I mean, I don't have the tickets yet, but I will make it there. And at Pittsburgh, it's too far for me. But
that's too much for me to do. That's too
yeah, that's too
much.
much for me. And I don't really like Pittsburgh that much of a city to go just for that. So no to that game. So the away games I'd think about going is Las Vegas. I think that's an interesting place to go. And then, Atlanta in theory, but probably not. And then Carolina maybe. So maybe like it'd probably come down to Carolina or Vegas for
Mm,
me. But ideally, I want to go to one game in Green Bay next year. It would be the um,
Chargers.
Chargers game. Yeah.
That's the game
Probably
I
not
would.
like it.
That's the game I would really. I would. I mean, I'd like to go to that. I really like to go to like one of the AFC West like opponents at home. That's what I really like to do.
Yeah, it's just a big trip out there. I
Yeah.
mean, I guess Kansas City's not. Well, they're playing in Kansas City or no, at home.
No, playing it
No, it's at
at
home.
home. At
Because I
home.
have some. That sucks. Because I have some. My girlfriend's friends live in Kansas City, but the thing is, even then, that would be too expensive anyway. Probably like $400, $500 a ticket. So.
I mean, you don't want to get Jordan Love's tickets like his parents to the Chiefs
Yeah,
game
that's
last.
true. That's true. That's true. I remember that.
Uh,
So yeah. So I guess that was a long answer to the fact that I wasn't too surprised. Losing, actually, in hindsight, was probably the better thing to happen. Really, would have been the better thing is just tanking, like when I said at the time.
yes, you did.
Um, because so let's look at that. Let's go back to the draft order.
Go to Tankathon or whatever.
Let me present.
Okay.
Uh, I mean, can Takeathon go back in time?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think so. So we're gonna have to do it manually. Um, so obviously we couldn't do any worse than the 15th pick if the you know
No.
if we're looking back to see if we could have done worse, right? So 8 and 9. This is one thing I like. The other teams that are 8 and 9, right? Um, did we get the better draft pick than them because of the tiebreakers? So the tiebreakers actually go the opposite way, right?
Yeah.
With the draft. So New England ended with us because we beat them.
Yep.
We lost the tie. See, they should for this. It should go the other way. If you beat them, right, you should get the better draft pick. I should go up in the standings, right? Like beating them screwed us in this one. Like that sucks. Um, but whatever. Okay, so you know, I'm gonna say that starting at the Chicago game, right? That was the time. Obviously, the Patriots game at the time you wanted to win, right? But if we would have lost the Chicago game,
That was where I
and
was.
then what?
I was at the home game for Chicago.
No, I'm talking about the away game.
Oh, the away game. Okay.
Yeah, I'm talking because I'm saying like obviously at that time you wanted to win, right?
Yeah.
Because we didn't know we were going to suck at that point.
Okay.
So starting in Chicago, that win streak we went on. Let's say we reversed the win streak. Let's say we beat Chicago. Okay, let's say in theory we beat Chicago. Or
Okay.
sorry, let's say we lost to Chicago, which we should have lost to them, right?
Okay.
Let's say we beat the Rams, and then we lost the rest of the game. So we won one game out of four, which we won 4 out of 4, right?
Yeah.
So let's say we lose 3 games. Where would we be in the draft? So
We
we'd
would
be 5 and 12, right?
we would be close to oh my goodness. We at like where the Lions Rams pick is at like 6 or 7. We'd be in the top 10 if we lost those games.
5 and 12. Wow. So this would have been the Rams, right? So we would have beat them in that situation.
Yep.
So they'd actually have a higher draft pick. So we
So
lost to the Rams or not, we could have had even better. We could have had a top 5 pick, right? And in
jeez.
Denver, I'm not sure what the tiebreaker would have been with Denver, right? Because we didn't play them head to head. So
We didn't play them head to
I
head.
don't know. I don't know what would have happened there.
I think
Um,
I think we have the tiebreaker over them because maybe of like the strength of schedule and like common opponents that we beat. Like the Rams demolished the Broncos in that Christmas game. Remember, maybe some common opponents is what I'm guessing there.
right. So we're looking. If we would have done what I said to do back then, we're looking at top 5 pick, Jeremy. Right
Oh my
now,
god.
I haven't done my draft pick research, right? But we dropped 10 spots in the draft for having this nice run, which felt good, right? And we said, okay, maybe we have a chance here. But it was false hope, and we got 10 picks, 10 draft picks that we lost because of that. And it's disappointing, I gotta
we
say.
we could
That's
have
definitely disappointing.
we probably could have if we got that pick. We'd probably be trading out if I'm guessed because probably a team wants to jump up and draft a quarterback at this point. So then you could
Honestly,
hold
I'd
that.
be taking a quarterback. If you don't
Well,
think Jordan Love's the answer, this is the time to take a quarterback.
well, I think Uniquins has said that he is the guy that they trust in. So based off that logic, I think you go. But if it
And
wasn't
and you're
Love,
all
I
in.
would. Yeah,
You're
I
all
would.
in, Jeremy. This is a huge. And now we're gonna, I guess, go to the Rodgers conversation.
Yeah.
Are you good with that? Or do you have anything to add on the other thing before I move on?
Uh we could have got we did not believe in Jordan Love. I'll just add to this. If we didn't think Jordan Love was our guy at this point right now, and we got to where Mike is saying the 5 picks theoretically, I would be thinking that they could trade up or take a quarterback maybe of CJ Stroud or Will Levis. That's the only options I would say if they want to theoretically if that was theoretically possible. But that's probably out of the scenarios. So
Right.
yeah, that's all I'm gonna say.
Right. All right. So I guess now we're gonna look at the quarterback position, right? So, um, I mean, could the Packers in the worst situation in quarterback in the league? Probably not, right? I mean, you still got Aaron Rodgers, you still got Jordan Love, so
Yep.
you got two viable options next year. So it's not like you have no options at quarterback. But again, we're not looking just to succeed and win a few games. We're looking to win a Super Bowl. So the question is who gives us the best chance to win the Super Bowl? Not in the past, not how many MVPs they got in the past, not how successful they were in the past. Tomorrow, right? Because we're not trying to win Super Bowls in the past. We're trying to win it right now.
Yeah.
So again, have bad decisions been made in the past has brought us to this day? Absolutely. I don't think there's any denying that, right? But
Yeah.
it's over now. We have to move forward, right?
Yeah.
Today's January 19th, 2023,
Yeah.
right? Tomorrow's going to be January 20th, 2023. I'm never going to get back to 2021, 2020. As much as I want to, it's not going to happen. So you got to say, what's the best decision tomorrow to put us to success? What's the best decision to make today to put us to success tomorrow is the question. And to me, I'm hard pressed to see how bringing Aaron Rodgers back helps us. With that said, right? I don't know how you get out of the contract either, because best case scenario right now for the Packers is probably that Rodgers retires after June 1st, right?
Yes.
If he retires after June 1st, you could take that 44 million cap hit that's going to occur,
Yep.
and I think hit 19 this year, 22 million next year of the 41 that's left.
Mm-hmm.
You don't pay him anything moving forward. You have a 19 million dead cap this year, 22 next year. Don't quote me on those numbers, but I believe that's the case. If he retires before June 1st, then you take the whole 44 this year, but I doubt Rodgers would do that to us. If he's going to retire, he's going to do it the right way, right?
Yeah.
He'd probably say I'm just going to retire, but I'm not going to hand it in until after June 1st. That's what they would do there. And that makes all sense, right?
Yeah.
But, and this is what people have been saying, why the hell, Jeremy, if you were getting paid $53 million, right?
Yeah.
And you signed this contract last year, right? He wanted a new contract. He wanted security, right? Why would you walk away from that? I know he's saying, well, it's a big investment in the season, blah, 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 blah. I don't want to be part of a rebuild, but he was part of a rebuild this year, right or wrong.
It's right. Yeah, it's right.
So how do you walk away from $54 million when you can phone it in the whole year, right? Have no repercussions because they got to pay you $54 million. It's not like you're going to play there next year anyway. Like this is at best the last year for Rodgers, right? Like Packers have clear outs in the contract after this year, I believe. And if they keep paying him, then the dead cap's really going to get high, I think. Don't
It
quote me
gets
on that too. I got to take a look.
it gets worse. That's all I know. I don't know the numbers, but I just know it gets worse. Like every year, it keeps going. It gets worse and worse.
Right. So the question is, how do you get out of this contract right now? And
You can't get out of this contract unless he retires at this point. That's
I
the
know,
only option.
but why would Rodgers as a person, right? And I know he's made a lot of money. I know, but do you think Rodgers is not selfish? I mean, let's get serious. He's
Okay.
selfish. He's absolutely selfish. This guy has never gotten married, right? I'm not, and I'm not down. I'm not pushing. I'm not giving a hard time. I understand it. What I'm saying is
He
you don't
almost married. He almost got
what?
married. He almost got married.
And he didn't because what does he care at the end of the day? Himself. He He got in a fight with his family. I'm not giving this, not shitting on Aaron Rodgers' time. I
Okay.
totally get it to some point, right? Everybody's different. He is super successful. Why? Because he's selfish. He, like I said, every person, I said this a few weeks ago, every person has to have some intrinsic motivation to be super successful, right? And one of the downsides of having intrinsic motivation is you can also be selfish, right? You could
Yeah.
say, be a little bit self-centered. I don't think anyone here is going to say Rodgers not self-centered, right? So I don't see how he walks away from $53 million to take one for the team. I don't see it. I just do not see Rodgers, knowing everything I know about him today, to walk away from another $53 million just paid for you in 1 year. You don't even have to show up for OTAs, right? It's voluntary, right?
Yep.
Everything is so easy. All he has to do is, not get hurt next year, and he gets $53 million. Why would you walk away from that, Jeremy?
All right. So to go off that, I like to give three. As you were mentioning with the motivation part of like himself of doing that, um, I will compare this since you just mentioned of like you have to be great if you want to be one of the greatest players of all time. You got to be a little selfish there, like Michael Jordan was with the Bulls. Tom Brady, you can call out like he's nobly considered the goat, and you can go off that of like where he's caring mostly about football. Michael Jordan, competitive, just caring about basketball. Aaron Rodgers, he has it. He always wants to win, but again, yes, he is selfish a bit. He can be selfish, and this is what the thing that gets annoyed me with is he's becoming a little bit of Brett Favre to me. He's
Oh,
becoming
totally.
like
Totally.
because you look at how many. I mean, I don't remember, but you probably remember because of our ages when Brett Favre was playing towards the later of his career. How many times did he go up to the podium? He was like considered like, well, I might retire. Well, I might not. I have to think about it. And then he retires, and then he unretires, gets traded to the Jets, and then he goes to Minnesota. And
So
like, do you think that?
So I'll give it to Rodgers though. He's not being as dramatic as Favre was, right? Favre is very
Yes.
dramatic about it. He was like, "Oh, look at me! I'm going to retire, then I'm going to unretire, then I'm going to cry about it." Like
Yep.
Rodgers is not doing that. He is handling it like, "Well, just give me some time. I need to think about it." Makes sense, right? I think he's also pushing, getting people off his back so he can keep pushing it down, letting people forget about it, and then I bet you he's going to say, "I'll be back next year." I bet you this is what's going to happen. Um, and we're just going to waste another year of the Packers thing. I think we are being held hostage a little bit by Aaron Rodgers, but he's
Yeah.
not being as dramatic about it as Favre. Favre was very dramatic.
That.
He wanted all
Yep.
the attention on him. Talk about selfishness. Like Rodgers is being a little bit more low key about it, so I'll give that to him a little bit.
Yep.
But I can see right through it. He's not going to come back from $53 million, and if he is, I'll eat my words. Um, but it's not like it's. I know he says it's a ton of work, but like think about it. He gets to be with his friends, right? He's not going to come back without Randall Cobb, without Bakhtiari, and they're not going to get rid of him at the end of the day. The Packers are married to Aaron Rodgers. They cannot spurn Aaron Rodgers. At this point, they've shown they're not going to do it, and that it's just not going to happen. So this team is Aaron Rodgers' team right now, in my opinion. Right under
I think.
Brian Gutekunst, he's
I
all
think.
in on Rodgers.
I think it's been that for the last couple of years, like before even Matt LaFleur. Like I think it's been that case since the Dallas game of the 2016 where Jericho catch. I think since that game, it has been Rodgers ever since.
Yeah, I think he runs the show there. And when they weren't listening to him, he threw a hissy fit about it,
Yep.
and they were forced. See,
Yep.
that's the thing. That's a huge power, right? And this is, I'll give you this recommendation too. I hope no one from my office is listening. You almost got to become so valuable to an organization, right? Where
Yep.
you can throw a hissy fit, and there's nothing they could do about it, right? Because I need this guy, right? This guy is right? I need him, right? He's my whole team, my whole organization, right here, right? So you can get everything you want because all you need to do is be like, no, I need this right now. Do it for me, or I'm gonna be pissed, right? And then, okay, let's
Yep.
do it. So that's what Rodgers is doing, right? He wanted more say in the organization. They weren't giving it to him. So he threw a hissy fit. He went to the media, played that game,
Yeah,
Maybe
he
it
does.
looked a little bit bad in the moment, but he got his way ultimately, right?
He did.
He got
He
his
did.
money, right? He's the smartest guy in the room. Now,
He,
being the smartest guy in the room is not always the nicest guy in the room, right? But he
true.
is the smartest guy in the room. So, and he's not necessarily doing anything illegal, right? That's the great thing. You
It's a
can't be
strategy. It's a
right.
strategy.
It's strategy. Self-centered strategy again, not
Yeah.
strategy for anybody else, not strategy for us as fans, right? I know he says he loves the fans, and I believe him. I think he loves the fans, but who does he love more than the fans? Who does he love more than the guys?
Money.
But whose?
His own money.
Is exactly himself. At the end of the day, Aaron Rodgers loves one person, and that's himself. And I'm telling you, that's the truth. So,
I mean, you can
um,
go on about his self love in the ayahuasca trip too.
but look, I'm not. I know this is going a rant, and it seems like I hate Aaron Rodgers. I actually love Aaron Rodgers. I think he's a great guy. And I think he's real smart. I think he's, if anything, we should all be looking at this and trying to emulate this in our own lives because you'll be super successful.
Yeah.
But the one thing he's probably missing is like, and that's why I think he said he loves the fans, he loves the guys because this gives him the camaraderie he's missing. Because look, I don't think he's a bad guy. I think he wants the camaraderie. He wants to have fun uh, with different people, right? But
Yeah.
at the end of the day, he loves himself more than he loves everybody else, right? So uh, this is his outlet, is football, right? Because team, you have a locker room with a team, bunch of guys. You have like that what do you call Halloween party where everyone dresses up. You have like the Crosby family that he talks about on the McAfee, like he loves them, like the Cobb family, like he loves all these people and he spends all his time with them, right? If he retires, he's not going to have that all the time. Like maybe you'll see him once here and there, but he's not going to have that construct of the Packers where he's going to see all his friends day in and day out and get made $53 million. Jeremy, if I told you I'd pay you $53 million to hang out with your friends all day, what would you say?
I say, heck yeah, give me that money.
Exactly. Why would he turn that down? Right. And then also look at Tom Brady, right? Tom Brady's what, 42?
I think
He
he's
almost
full.
has to keep up with Tom Brady, right? Where he
Yeah.
can't retire too early. So I do not see any way in hell that
No.
Aaron Rodgers retires this year. I think what he's going to do is he's going to push this out as long as he can. He's not going to be dramatic about it. He's going to do what he's
No.
done the past few years. He'll go on the McAfee show maybe once or twice. Say, I need some time. Please respect my space.
Yeah.
And then he's going to decide, I'm going to come back and we're going to make another run for this. But that's not in the best interest of the Packers. There's no way. Let's look at the quarterbacks in the playoffs right now, right? Um, they're all young. The oldest one is 29, Dak Prescott, right?
I thought it was Patrick Mahomes, but okay. Oh no, that's
No,
AFC.
Dak
Excuse me.
Prescott.
But that's AFC.
He's 29.
Yeah.
Mahomes is 26, I believe, or 27. He's my age. So what do you call it? You got a aging quarterback who's already shown decline, right?
Yeah.
That's making $60 million a year. That's the biggest problem, right? Is you got an aging quarterback that's showing decline, can't really run anymore, and it's making $50 million a year.
Yes.
Doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. What we need is somebody young and cheap that has upside. Aaron Rodgers has no upside. It's we better win this year, otherwise we wasted our money.
At what point do you, as if you're Ted Thompson, like how he, well, as it's Brian Gutekunst now, but like you remember when Ted Thompson he had the job back then, and it was up to Favre and Rodgers. At what point are you Gutekunst and you pull the plug and you say, "Hey, it's been awesome. We've been awesome having you around, and I think it's time to put in love." And he knows that. He
That was
knows
last
love.
year, though. It was last year.
Yeah.
Looking back, last year, look, I kind of maybe if we had this podcast and I had the way to think about this and talk through this, I would have thought differently. But at the time, I was like, I want to do another run at this. I feel bad that we missed it. Maybe we'll do wrong decision. Everyone's saying that Rodgers should have been gone last year. I totally agree, and I kind of said it last year too. But then I felt good when he came back because I do like Rodgers at the end of the day. So I was happy that he came back. But think about all the haul they would have got for Aaron Rodgers to Denver. Huge haul. Look what Russell Wilson got for him. Add probably another first rounder to that, and that's what Aaron Rodgers would have got because they really wanted him. There's no way the Denver Broncos hired Nathaniel Hackett if it wasn't to get Rodgers to go there. I'm sorry. I said that beforehand that the Broncos are going to hire Nathaniel Hackett because of Aaron Rodgers. What happened? They hired Nathaniel Hackett. Now, Rodgers didn't go there ultimately, but they hired Nathaniel Hackett for one reason. That was for Aaron Rodgers. Now, if it would have worked, they probably would have kept him, but it didn't work. It was actually a train wreck, and they didn't get Aaron Rodgers, so they let him go.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what I have to say here is I do not see any way in hell that Rodgers does not come back on this team next year.
No, I think that if you're gonna like talk about like how many years does he have left playing the game, I would probably say 1 to 2 years and just end the contract. If he puts out, and Brian Gutekunst mentioned in the press conference, like towards like the end of like the season a couple weeks ago or whenever it was, and he said like we didn't sign Aaron to do just a 1 year thing. Now it's a 1 year like time basis. I get that, but when we made the contract, he made a commitment, and we made a commitment too for him to be here more than just a year. And
Right.
that's where I'm at of like, okay, I love Rodgers Depth. He's my favorite quarterback all time. But there's a point in time where the show must come to an end at this point. And at this point, I would probably, if because he signed the deal, because last offseason you definitely had the choice of like, do we want to re-sign him? Do we not? Do we just want to get rid of him and everything? They made the commitment last year. And if I'm them, I'd probably give Rodgers, this might be like next season, his last year, and then you pull the plug and you put Love in.
I agree.
Because
And that
because
might be
Love's
the case.
tired. Because
But
Love's tired.
that might be the case, but Love is done. I mean, Love, if Love does not play this year, there is no shot. Because so what are you going to do, right? You're going to give him the 50-year option, right?
That's at least like 15, 20 million.
15, $20 million for 2 years from now, I guess, right?
Yep.
So next year, so let's look at Jordan Love's contract.
Okay. Because this is where I'm kind of interested in learning, like, is this basically going to be like Bart Starr, where he sat on the bench for like, I don't know how many years, but it was like at least 5, 6 years. And then this, like, we don't even know if Jordan Love is the guy really at this point. And we'd like to see more out of him.
Right. So he's going to make $3.9 million next year, no matter what. He's under contract next year. The question is the 5th-year option, and the quarterback 5th-year option for this year is, I think, $16 million, right?
Let me look that up to see. Just again, well, this is a difference though because he wasn't a first rounder though. He was a second rounder.
It wasn't. He was a first rounder.
Oh, he's a first rounder.
Otherwise, there would be no 5th-year option.
Oh yeah, that's, I got that mixed up. Watson, my bad.
Watson, yeah.
All right, so let me just look to see. I'm looking at. All right, so the basic from what I'm looking at from a quarterback from Joe Burrow, it's giving me from 2020 first class was about 20 million. It was 19,562,000. If he had play time, it's over 22 million. If he made a Pro Bowl, it'd be 30 million. If he had made more than a Pro Bowl, it'd be 32 million. So you're basically paying him 20 million to sit on the bench.
Yeah, $20 million, right? But then there's no way they could keep Rodgers. If they give him the 5th-year option this year, that means this is the last year for Rodgers.
Yep.
If they play Rodgers this year, because there's no way going back to, right, it would be 20 million in 2024 for Love, and then 60 million for Rodgers in 2020. Sorry.
It
would be 40 million in 2024 for Rodgers. But you see, if we cut Rodgers in 2024, we have $68 million of dead cap, right?
Yeah.
This is trade. So, am I even sharing the right thing?
I think.
So cut, right? $68 million of dead cap in 2024. So that means we'd be paying 20 million plus 68, $88 million, Jeremy, in cap space to a quarterback, right? What is the total cap? It's
I don't know.
Let's go to the Packers here. Total cap is 251 million.
So that's, if you're gonna do that, that's at least
it's around 200 something million. That's what I knew it was.
Yep.
So, almost, let's say 40% of your cap is to a quarterback. One position, Jeremy, to have 40%. It's impossible. So if they give Love the 5th-year option, the best Rodgers could do is one more year, and it's still gonna have a huge dead cap. So you cannot cut Rodgers this year. It'd be 90-something million dead cap this year. It's impossible to do it this year. In theory, it's possible to do next year, but if you also have Love, then now it's again making it really impossible.
Yeah.
So maybe you trade him, but I don't know how you trade him. Somebody said they give cash back. Have you ever seen give cash back in a trade? Like, I've never. Is that
not in football? I've seen in baseball a lot of times they do that where they try basically just say trade
for like
cash
cash consideration. I think sometimes it has to do with like international players or something. You could get like
Yeah.
an international player money or something. I'm not sure how baseball works, but I've never even seen trading sign for cash back. So I'm not sure what goes into it. I'm sure it's possible, but then you're not going to get anything for him. You're going to trade for all you would have got for Rodgers last year, right? You would have
Hmm.
got basically nothing just to get rid of the cap problem. So you're
Yeah.
basically saying we're giving away Rodgers at this point just to get out of the contract we gave him last year. So you're basically admitting defeat on the contract.
Yep.
I don't know. Honestly, I think this is a fireable offense from Brian Gutekunst. Like, I don't understand how we could be in this situation at this point. Like,
I
it
don't.
might be a fireable offense. And I think, honestly, some things that LaFleur did this year are a fireable offense. Like, again, I'm not trying to be crazy. And I love LaFleur. I like Gutekunst for the most part. But some of these decisions that have been made are going to alter the course of this team for the next 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years. Who knows how long, right?
At this point, you might want to do the Barry Bonds, not the Barry Bonds. The what's the Mets guy? What's the guy who always gets paid like
Stephen
1 million?
Cohen?
No, it's no. Who's Bobby Bonds? Bobby.
Yeah, you're talking about the guy that getting paid into
Yes, at this
perpetuity or something, right?
at this point, I think it's going to be that case. Maybe that might be
Well,
the
I
case.
mean, I don't know. I'm
You-
not sure, but yeah, I don't think Rodgers would do that. I don't know, but I don't know the answer here, Jeremy. I don't. I wish I had an answer. I do, and I think a lot of the Packers podcasters are at a loss for words too. I think it's a real bad situation we're in with this Aaron Rodgers situation,
Well, it gets worse.
and
Let's say if he if we're going by his words, what he said on the Pat McAfee, if he can play like MVP level again, and he plays like that, then what do you do again? That's what makes it even
but
worse.
do you think that's realistic?
I don't think he can play. I think he can get back up to where he was. He definitely had a better year. I don't think he's going to be the MVP that we've seen, though.
I mean, look at some of these younger quarterbacks: Justin Herbert, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes. Lamar Jackson to an extent. Kenny Pickett looked good. I'm not ready to put him anywhere, but he looked good, right? Brock Purdy is doing well, right? I
Yep.
mean, I know he's in the right situation. I'm not ready to crown him anything yet, but look at the younger quarterbacks. Not only are they doing well, they're succeeding right now, but they have huge futures ahead of them, right? Josh Allen. If you had Josh Allen on your team right now, we'd be
I,
singing. We'd be singing from the rooftop, right?
yep.
Because not only is he good now, but he's going to be good next year. He's going to be good the year after that. 10 years from now, I'll be in my 30s. I still have Josh Allen, right?
Mm-hmm.
Aaron Rodgers is going to be, in a retirement home in 10 years. No, he's not. He's only going to be 50, but he's not going to be playing football in 10 years, right?
Yeah.
So there's no way you can tell me that I don't want to get younger at the position right now. And that wouldn't be the best thing for this organization to get younger at the quarterback position. Now, could it be Jordan Love? Sure. I mean, if Jordan Love can step in and be a Josh Allen, sign me up, right? Or be a Justin Fields, sign me up. Because
Mm-hmm.
we have it right now. We don't have to go trade. So that'd be perfect. The problem is we're not going to get that rookie contract. No matter what we do at this point, we're not going to get that rookie contract. So that's bad, right? Because if we could get a real good quarterback on a rookie contract, then we could start reinforcing elsewhere. With a okay cap, even though the cap situation is going to suck now anyway because of all this kicking down the can down the road that we've done.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we stuck with Rodgers for too long. I really hate to say it. I think we stuck with Rodgers too long. We were afraid to sperm. We were afraid to get rid of the two-time MVP. Sometimes, Jeremy, I have a question for you. Right? You're not 21, right? So
No.
you don't play poker or whatever or
No.
blackjack, right? Let's say, Jeremy, I told you you're gonna hit the jackpot not once on a slot machine, right? Not once, right? Let's say you win $1 million, but then you're gonna put that whole $1 million. Let's say you bet $100 and you win $1 million, right? I'm saying not once, but then you're going to put another $100 the next one, right? And you're going to win another $1 million, right? So you're up $2 million now, Jeremy, right? You're off back-to-back jackpots. What are you going to do? What's your next decision?
Keep my money. I'm not putting that money back in again.
Right, exactly. Because who's going to win 3 jackpots in a row, right? It's
It's
almost
very unlikely.
impossible, very unlikely. So, what makes you think that coming off of MVP, that he's going to win another MVP at this age when he's playing with young people, right?
Yeah.
Very unlikely. So honestly, that would have been the best time to move on from him in hindsight. Now, it's a hard
Yeah,
decision to make. Don't get
it
me wrong.
is.
You have
Yes.
to sit in your chair, right, and deal with all these people. But who did that decision? We want to give Ted Thompson a hard time. He's the smartest guy looking back on it. He was the
Let's
smartest guy in the room. You say Aaron Rodgers is the smartest guy in the room right now. Ted Thompson was the smartest guy in the room because he
let's
knew who he had in Aaron Rodgers, right? Now, he got lucky that Aaron Rodgers fell to him. He
yes.
did. He got lucky that Aaron Rodgers fell to him. But sometimes being smart is taking the luck that's given to you and making and taking advantage of that luck, right? So he picked Aaron Rodgers, right? And then when it was time to move out from Favre and let Rodgers take the reins, he did it. He wasn't afraid of all the backlash that
Nope.
came,
Because either you take your guy to the toilet bowl, Aaron Rodgers, or you
right?
take your guy, Brett Favre, to the Super Bowl.
Exactly. So, um,
Can't believe that, guys.
so we had back-to-back MVP quarterbacks, back-to-back quarterbacks that had one Super Bowl, back-to-back quarterbacks that one Super Bowl, and then one went to another Super Bowl and lost. The other one got close but never made it. Right, that's the second one.
Yeah.
So great quarterbacks but not great team success, back-to-back. This was the time to take a chance this year with Jordan Love, see what he had, and if he sucked, let's say Jordan Love went 1-15, we would have had the first pick. You go pick up, what's his name, the guy from Ohio State,
CJ Stroud.
CJ Stroud. Say, CJ, this is your team now. Jordan Love, you're out. Perfect. I think that would have been the ideal situation. Say, look, we messed up with the Jordan Love pick. I agree with you. We came out, we messed up with the Jordan Love pick. He sucked this year, but now we got CJ Stroud. He's going to lead us to the promised land because we won 1-15.
So basically,
Because Jordan Love sucked
you're telling me you want to be the Houston Texans at this
for a
point?
year. Absolutely.
Okay.
Not for a long time.
Okay.
Not for a long time. For 1 year. Because you have two options, right? You have Jordan Love doing great. I love him to do great. I have nothing wrong with Jordan Love, right? Maybe Jordan Love is great and we have success, right? It's like, what do you call it? The Eagles with
Jalen Hurts.
Jalen Hurts, right? Jalen Hurts got picked after Jordan Love, and he's kind of similar quarterback. So what makes us think that maybe Jordan Love comes in this year and blows us all out of the water, looks great, and we're like, perfect. Now we know who we have in Jordan Love. He's a great quarterback. We want to keep playing him. So I'm not shitting on Jordan Love. I'm saying one way or the other, at least now we know, right? We know he's great, we know he sucks, or we know he's mediocre, right? Or at least maybe you don't know forever, but for this year, that's what we have, right? Now we don't know anything. Another year of not knowing anything in Jordan Love. We have a huge decision in front of us about if you give him the fifth-year option, right? You cannot make this fifth-year option decision without knowing what you're going to do with Rodgers. Like I said, you can't have $90 million on the cap in a quarterback with two quarterbacks, one that's never going to play, right? So the Packers need to make a decision. They're between a rock and a hard place, and they should have made this decision last year, not this year. But again, we can't change it.
No, we cannot.
And we have to do with what we were given at the time. But there's no great answer at the time, I think. I really think our backs are against the wall, and we're going to fail for this. I think we have a lot of future pain to swallow because of the bad decisions that have been made the past few years.
Yep.
I think, and I'd love to hear somebody disagree with me because Carson disagreed with me about the playoffs, and I'm not being a Debbie Downer. I'm not. I'm just trying to be realistic, right? And I told him, I said, I don't agree. I don't think we're gonna make the playoffs, but maybe you're right. I hope you're right. And then I was laughing against the Vikings, saying, I want to get him back on the show because I want to apologize to him. But look, I ended up being right, right? Like they didn't make the playoffs and they weren't that great. So, the emotional roller coaster of the season, I get that. You can't get caught up in that. But the truth is, you got to take the emotion out and you got to look at the truth, right?
Yep.
The truth is the Packers weren't a Super Bowl contender last year, but they were paying Rodgers to be a Super Bowl contending quarterback. If you're going to be not a Super Bowl contender again next year, which I don't think the Packers are going to be a Super Bowl contender, and pay him to be a Super Bowl contender and really do it again, it's tough to me. But I don't know how to get out of it. I don't know how to get out of it because the only way to get out of it is him retiring. And I just do not see him making a decision, taking one for the team and wasting $60 million. I just don't see it.
I really wish. This is what I hate Tom Brady so much because I'm a Tom Brady hater. But the one thing I give him credit for is look at the contract he does. It's not that big. he takes the team friendly contract and he's able to get the other weapons around him to come. Now, this is what annoys me is like, as you're mentioning with Aaron Rodgers, he's kind of holding them
He's
hostage
totally holding him hostage.
because of how much you're making the money. Now, this is what I wish that could happen, but I don't know if it's happening. Is they rework the entire deal, which I don't think will happen, and I probably am wrong on this, but if this were to happen, if they could rework the contract, take 10 million of his salary,
He's not going to take a
give
pay cut. He's not. Why would he
I
come
know
back and take it? You think Aaron Rodgers is going to take a pay cut, Jeremy? He's not going to do it. He's not going to do it. There's no way.
if you don't want to see Randall Cobb or Sage Lewis come back,
Not going to do it, Jeremy. I understand what you're saying. I understand. I'd love him to play for $1, right? I mean, you can't. You have to make them veteran minimum at least. But just not going to do it. There's no way he's going to come back and take a pay cut. He's just not that type of person. He's not. He's not. I know we say that Tom Brady's a great guy. He takes it. But I was thinking about this. So just hear me out for a second, right?
oh
So
boy,
the Packers are a charity, right? Like we're part of the charity. We own shares. It's a charitable organization.
yes,
Would it be against the rules, right, to let Rodgers retire, right? So he doesn't make anything, right? And then make a charitable donation to like a trust he sets up for his children of $60 million. Is that against the rules?
I mean, I don't.
Or maybe here's what he would do: make a $60 million donation to a charities of a Rodgers' choice. So at least Rodgers looks good, right? Because it's not his money, right? So I don't think this would be against the rules. Let Rodgers say, we want the $60 million to go to something that you believe in, right? I could see him doing this, because this kind of strokes his ego again. They're like, oh, well, I'm the one that's what do you call it? Donating all this money around to everybody. I didn't really need the 60 million anyway. So you make the $60 million payment outside of the cap, right? So there's still something in it for Rodgers to retire, and you give away out of the cap. Maybe that happens. I don't know, but I think a lot of teams, you definitely couldn't pay him outside of the cap. Teams would shut that down. The league would shut that down. Maybe you'd be able to make a donation to the charities of his behalf. I'm not sure, but paying him $60 million is probably the only way to do this, and that's going to kill us on the cap.
I mean, well,
It's hard. It's hard to swallow this, Jeremy.
I do have one theoretical idea is what happened to Odell last year with the Rams. His salary is based on crypto. Put it all on crypto and let the whole thing
But it doesn't
sink.
matter. It still hurts our salary. It doesn't matter where the money goes after you're paid. It's the salary cap is the problem.
No, but
Right?
I'm saying base his salary. Just do his salary based on crypto at this point.
Yeah, but they just take the amount that you were going to pay in US dollar, right, and convert it to crypto at that point. So if he was going to make $60 million, you just don't give him a $60 million wire, right, in US dollar. You say, okay, well, Bitcoin is valued at this price, right? We have to pay you $60 million, so we're going to take 60 million in Bitcoin, and then that's what we're going to pay you in Bitcoin. But it has nothing to do with the salary cap. It's just what he receives in compensation for the $60 million or currency. But it doesn't affect the salary cap number. So we've got a long time on these two topics, but I think these are the main topics that we have to talk about.
It is.
How did the Packers end this season? What happened? The future of the Packers, we hit on that, and this Rodgers situation. And I still like Rodgers. I think he's a really interesting guy, really smart guy. I view the way he thinks very similar to the way I think in some ways. So I have no issues with Rodgers. I really don't. He's been my favorite player for a while, and I wish him all the success. But looking at this, panning the camera up and looking at this from a point of view of a 50,000-foot point of view, right? The best case for the Packers right now is to cut loose to Rodgers and move forward with somebody younger. Maybe we have a quarterback that sucks and we move on. I'm not sure. There might be a lot of pain in the future for the Packers, but staying with Rodgers is not making that pain any less.
Nope. It is not. And I really, it's just like, as you're mentioning, it's a tough pill to swallow. Like, you love Rodgers, loved him ever since he's been here as a Packer, watch him grow up like how we've seen with Devontae. And like we see with Rodgers now, but like we want him to stay forever. But we all know that's not going to happen as we face reality. Like, it's a point in time where he's going to retire and he doesn't want to play till he's like through his 40s. Like Tom Brady, he doesn't want to do that. So
you wouldn't want him to play to his 40s because honestly, I don't think he has the ability to do it. Look at Drew Brees, right? Like you don't want that guy on your team, no. Even though his name is Drew Brees. at the time that he sucked, right? Like, I don't care if your name is Joe Montana. I don't want you on my team anymore. You're too old. You know,
Yeah.
uh, names are great, but names don't matter on the football field. What matters is your production and what you're able to actually physically exert at that moment, not what you were able to physically exert 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Uh, I mean, the one good thing that Rodgers has going for him is his mind is not getting any worse. That is going to be
That
something that's really
that
tough to
yeah.
to um, to replicate, and that's the one thing that is very tough to lose from Rodgers and is not diminishing in any way. Is his mind,
Yeah.
but it's not everything. Like your mind can only go so far. You need to still be able to succeed on the field physically. He can't run the ball anymore. His arm's still there in theory, but the other problem is he can't get everybody else on the same page as him that are younger. Like, I don't know. Maybe another year fixes that, and maybe that's the just another year with these receivers is what fixes the problem. It's possible in theory, right? And maybe Rodgers plays it better because his thumb is not hurt anymore,
Yep.
and he's been able to game manage like what Brady does, but he's not going to be able to take over the game. Look at
No.
Josh Allen. Josh Allen could take over the game. Look at Mahomes. He could take over the game. Look at like Lamar Jackson. He could take over the game. Rodgers is never going to take over the game anymore. We need a team around him to carry that can carry him almost, right? He's just got to be a game manager. That's all he can be at this point. And
Yeah.
with his cap hit and where the Packers stand around him, I just don't know if it's possible. I just don't know. If Devontae Adams was still here, it's possible. If you had Christian Watson and Devontae Adams on this team,
We'd be Super Bowl contenders.
probably. And Rodgers didn't get hurt with his thumb, probably.
Yeah. But
But
that didn't happen.
Devontae Adams is
He's gone.
Devontae Adams is a game changer. Him and
Yes.
Rodgers' connection was a game changer.
It was.
Without that, the um
There's no game
the
changer.
weaknesses in this team get highlighted
Yep.
because they're not getting band-aids by Rodgers and Adams. Some of the weaknesses in the Buffalo Bills are getting bandaged by Josh Allen. He's playing really well. Patrick Mahomes bandaging some of the weaknesses on the Chiefs uh, team. So we're not getting that from the quarterback position anymore, and I think the quarterback position is so expensive that it's time to move on. I just don't know how. I don't have the solution, and we follow like um, what's his name? Kurt, what's his name? Angles.
Oh, Ken Engels.
Ken Angles. Thanks.
Yep.
Um, he doesn't know. He doesn't seem to know the answer either. He's on top of the cap thing.
Caps.
He
Yep.
just knows you cannot cut him. Like I said, there's no way in hell you cut Rodgers. So he doesn't have a solution other than Rodgers retiring, and I think that's really the only solution here. But that requires Rodgers to walk away from $54 million a year, and I don't think that's happening.
I don't. I just like it's just pain because we all know like in the future our team's gonna get a lot worse, and we don't know like what we see in Jordan Love yet. That's the mystery, and we're still waiting to see that, as we were mentioning earlier. But for Rodgers, like next year, which as we were mentioning this whole time, like there's no way we see him not playing here next year. And if he does play here next year, that is probably going to be the last season we see of him in a Packers uniform.
Oh, totally. Next year is totally the last season, regardless. Question is there a next season? That's the question.
Yep.
But here's my other thing about Jordan Love, and I don't want to give Jordan Love a hard time. I haven't really seen him, but think about this, Jeremy. Let's say like you're deciding if you want to be in a relationship or not, right? Like, right? You had an opportunity to see another girl or another guy, right? Depending on who you are, um, for 3 years, right? You had basically you had an option, right? Between Rodgers and Jordan Love, right? And you decided I'm going to still go with the old one, right? So I'm still going to go with the old one. Then the new guy that's young and hip, and is real young. My one
Yeah.
girlfriend's old, right? And the new one's 25, right? Then I'm
Yeah.
going to go with the old one.
Yeah.
So that means that the new one must suck, right? Like, well, why would I not go with the new one, the young one, if I thought he was real good, right? So I think what I'm saying is I think that there's a clear kind of, they're not going to verbally come out and say we don't believe in Jordan Love, right? But by not giving him the job last year, I think it shows that they don't believe in Love. Ted Thompson believed in Rodgers, and he made that decision, right? Because Rodgers had more long-term um, upside than Brett Favre did, right? Um, Jordan Love had more long-term upside than Brett and Rodgers did last year, but they didn't make that move. So it could be one of two things. Gutekunst is weak, right, and didn't want to make that decision last year, and doubled down on Rodgers, even though Jordan Love was ready, or they didn't think Jordan Love was ready. I think it's a mixture of both.
I mean, well, what we see, well, I mean, from Jordan Love, where I mean, from the reports have been telling, well, from the reports that we've seen from the Packers camp and everything that we always get out of the Packers, is that Jordan Love has improved and he's definitely got rid of the rookie mistakes. But the thing is, we don't know how good the arm is really. His best throw was to Christian Watson, but that was barely a throw. But you do see like some stuff that you can see out of like he has like potential, and we knew this like as Gunkins basically just picked them for a project to see, hey, to see what you can do under a Hall of Fame quarterback, one of the most talented quarterbacks of all time, and see what happens. And it's kind of getting an annoyance to me of like, okay, as I mentioned it before already, when do you pull the band-aid and you give it to Jordan Love? That is where I'm kind of at, and I definitely want
But
Rodgers to play, but you need Jordan Love to play. Otherwise, he's not going to prove a whole lot more. You need him to give him some exercise. Like you need him starting like at least a game. And it was kind of annoying me in the season. Like if we go on that when we were on that 5-game losing streak, why don't we have Love starting? If you're like, are you going to give up the season and are we theoretically going to win the Super Bowl? Just put Love in at this point.
I agree. And you're saying pull the band-aid off, right?
Yeah.
Emotionally, personally, it's always going to be pull the band-aid off. I totally agree. We have a lot of love for Aaron Rodgers, what he gave to this team. That's never going to be not hard, right?
Yeah.
But from a playing standpoint, have we totally agreed that Jordan Love is going to be the next great player in this league, right? Shouldn't be pulling the band-aid off. It's excitement, right? And it's also
Yeah.
it's something to look forward to, right? We
Mhm.
believe in Aaron and Jordan Love. We invested a lot of time for him. It's time for him to take over the reins,
Yep.
right? But no one made that decision. No one seemed to be very confident about that. And the people then made the decision. So do they think that if you got Brian Gutekunst drunk, right? Would he tell you what he really thought about Jordan Love, right? I know we can't go out and say like the truth, right? And then that's the problem with these things, right? Obviously, if you were in a fly on the wall in Brian Gutekunst's house, right? He's with his wife eating dinner or something, right? And Brian goes, "Hey, honey, like, what do you think about Jordan Love?" You think he's gonna say, "Well, you know what, honey? I think he's a good project. We got him on, on contract, and he's gonna sit behind right." No, he's gonna tell him the truth, right? He's not gonna give her all this like political jargon he gives out to the
Media.
media all the time, right? He's gonna tell you what he actually believes. That's what I would love to know. I'd love to know what these guys truly believe about Jordan Love. And if they truly believe he's going to be good, then why didn't they make the decision last year?
That's the
That's my question, right?
that's
I'm
the
not saying
biggest.
that they don't truly believe that, but their actions didn't line up with that belief.
Definitely. Definitely. But yeah, I mean, it's just the question that you have now is like, where do we go now at this point? And we wait for Rogers as we begin this saga once
The
he
Rodgers watch now, right?
Rogers
And
watch she's at TV session.
he's not going to come back and say, "Guys, I'm back," right? He's not going to do that. He's going to take his time. He's going to go on a vacation. He's going to hang out with,
Well,
his new
I
girlfriend
I
that's
would
26 years old. So he went younger. He did that, right?
he's
You
not
know
Leonardo DiCaprio there. He's not
what?
he's not Leonardo DiCaprio.
Well,
You
I
know
mean, he does okay for himself. He does okay for himself. He's got a lot of money. He's not a bad looking guy, and he's a celebrity, so he does pretty good for himself. But he hasn't been able to make it last for any point in time. And I think that's more on him. I think it is. I don't think it's on any of the girls he's been with. I think he's just, um, I don't think he wants. I think he's a lifetime long bachelor, is what I think. And I'm not meaning to talk about his personal life. I don't do. I think what I'm trying to say is I think that's just one example of the way his personality is, which is very self-centered, which has allowed him to succeed a lot in his career.
Yep.
Makes him really smart, interesting guy to talk to, but one that's not going to take one for the team and walk away from $53 million,
Exactly.
which
I
is what we
totally
care about right now. Because, like I said, the best best off ramp of this thing right now is him retiring this year on his own and walking away from this money. And
Yeah.
everything I've seen about Aaron Rodgers does not make me believe he's gonna do it. I'd love to eat my words and he retires and he goes into the sunset, becomes an analyst. I'd love to see Rodgers as an analyst, even though I don't think he's gonna do that. He said he doesn't want to do it, but I think he's gonna get bored too and want to do something with football. Or maybe he just does investments. I'm not sure what he's gonna do in his retirement, but
Yeah.
I don't think this is the year. I just don't.
I don't either. I honestly don't see it anymore.
So I think he'll be back. I think we'll be having the same conversation next year, Jeremy. Probably
Yeah.
have the same amount of people watching us. No, I'm
Hopefully
just kidding.
more.
Hopefully more. So hopefully that's the one difference next year is we have a few more people watching us. You know,
Hmm.
but I think we're going to be running it back. I think we're
Yeah.
gonna be running it back. I think we'll probably finish about 8 and 9 next year. Just miss the playoffs or make the first round, lose it,
I mean,
and then we'll
maybe.
be talking again about will Rodgers be back? The real question is here, and this is why I'm interested about this offseason, is what they do with Jordan Love. Because if they give Jordan Love the 5th-year option and bring Rodgers back, this is his last year. There's just no way in
Right.
hell they can have both of them in 2024, right?
Exactly.
So then we know for sure this is the last year. It'll be a nice, you know, it'll give us at least a personal way, like, okay, this is gonna be our last year. It's the last year we could watch Rodgers in person on the Packers. Um, and then it's all on Love. It's all on Love making $20 million, and we have no idea if he's good or not
Exactly.
on 2020 at 2024, right? And then that's for 1 year. And if he's real good in 2024, then we got to pay up off of
Exactly.
1 year. It's like what we had to do with Rasul Douglas and Devondre Campbell, right?
Yeah.
We got him cheap for 1 year. He balled out. Then we had to pay him a ton of money the next year. And then now they were okay. They were okay this year. They weren't all pro level, right?
Well, Campbell played through hurts. He played through
I
injuries.
get it, but he made big money this year, and he was okay. He was okay, pretty good, not
He's
bad.
still good. He's still good. He's still
I'm
good.
I'm not giving him a hard time. I'm just saying last year he was great making no money. Awesome. I loved it. This year made a lot of money and he was okay. And I know he got hurt. I know there's other things, but I'm just saying the overall picture. Oh, okay. If he would have been off the Packers, we would have saved that money. Probably wouldn't have been the worst thing in the world, right? Just looking back, again, all this is all in hindsight. I'm not saying that this is. At the time I would have made the decision to bring back Devondre Campbell, so I'm not giving Gutekunst a hard time about that decision. I think that was the right decision. But in hindsight, right? You know, we gave him a lot of money, and he was okay player this year. Rasul Douglas gave him a good amount of money. He was okay to good player this year for the Packers. Definitely not as good as he was last year, right?
No.
So what I'm trying to say is my point is let's say we let Rodgers have a farewell year this year, pay him another $60 million, get more in the cap hole, right? We give Jordan Love the 5th-year option, cut Rodgers next year, let Jordan Love play in 2024. He plays real well, right? He plays real well. Looks like a really good quarterback, right? So now we have to give him a big contract, right? Because there's no 6-year option, right? So I guess you could franchise tag him, but that's a huge amount of money. So you probably have to give him a big contract, right?
Yes.
Um, so now you've seen the guy play for 1 year. He had a pretty good season that 1 year, and you just give this guy this huge contract. Now the next year, he's all right. The year after that, he's okay. But you just gave this guy a huge contract over that 1 year, right? When with rookies, you should have 5 years to see him if he's good or not, right?
Yeah.
Making 2 million this year, 3 million this year, maybe 5 million the next year because he makes the Pro Bowl a few times, right? And then you got to pay him big, right? But I've seen him for 3 years. He's been able to sustain success. I'm okay paying him big. That's not what the Packers are in right now. We've wasted a lot of years of Jordan Love's contract.
Yep.
Uh, next year we're in no man's land. We have to make a decision on the 5-year option with J Love,
Yep.
and then we'll have 1 year to see if he's good or not. If he sucks, then you just let him go, right? If he's real good, then you got to probably re-sign him and hope he continues to be real good after 1 year. But you only have 1 year of evaluation on him before
Hmm.
you have to give him a huge contract. And these are not, the cornerback Rasul Douglas contract you probably live with. Devondre Campbell contract probably can live with if you make it a problem there. But if you
Yeah.
give Jordan Love $25 million to $35 million a year, and he sucks because he was good that 1 year that it was a contract year for him,
Then you're fired,
now you're
Gutekunst.
really fucked. right? Because now $30 million to a guy that can't even be a bench warmer. I'm not saying it's gonna happen. I'm just saying in theory, if that would have
Yeah,
happened, right? Um, and all you had to go off of was 1 year when you could have had a huge runway to see if this guy's good or not.
exactly.
I don't know. I don't know. I'm hoping for the best. I'm a Packers fan. You're a Packers fan. We want to
Yeah,
be in the Super Bowl. We want to have success. But I'm hard felt to see any positives from the season, any things to look forward to moving forward.
the
And if
wide
any of the
receiver.
listeners disagree with me, please reach out to me and please tell me exactly what you think was a positive this year and what positives we have to go from moving forward. And what we'll do is we'll get you on the show next week or the week after. And I'd love to talk through it. I'm not dismissing anybody. I want everyone's opinions to be heard. Jeremy, if you have any opinions, disagree with what I'm saying, please tell me. I agree. What I'm saying is this is the way I see it, right? And
Mhm.
you tell me, do you agree with me or no?
No, I don't agree with you. I mean, reality, yes, it's probably going to be that, but I think with Rodgers coming back, I think he gives a veteran presence to the wide receivers. He
For
helps
$60 million a year.
Well, hey, would you rather see a Christian Watson potentially ball out and like, hey, he could be ready. He could be like a great Jennings. He could be like those receivers with Favre have, like Donald Driver, and be ready with love, and then roll around with it, and then you see what happens next. Like they still have a run game. You have AJ Dillon, you have Aaron Jones. You still got some good receivers. Now they definitely need more weapons. Tanya probably gone. Lazard's probably gone. Definitely you draft a tight end or somebody out there. Mercedes Lucy's getting up there. I don't see him. He
He's not
probably will
coming back if
return.
Rodgers doesn't come back. There's no way. Cobb
Probably
is gone if Rodgers doesn't come back. Mercedes Lewis
exactly.
is gone if Rodgers doesn't come back. Crosby's gone regardless, I think. I just don't think he's
I
got
just
the leg on him anymore.
no. I just
Um,
yeah. But
Bakhtiari probably is back for a year and then he's gone.
exactly.
Um, if Rodgers
But
doesn't come back.
he's there's still still good weapons. I want to say on this team, like both sides. Like you have for the offensive line, it's still good. I mean, there's like a minor little thing to
It's
fix
okay.
out. It's I say it's gone. It's been good. It's been good this entire time. Right tackle is going to be a question there to see what they do with Yosh Nyman and Zach Tom. Probably move Zach Tom out of the right tackle when Bakhtiari's gone. You move him to left tackle, and then you see for you still have a run game, so you're going to see because Aaron Jones is going to take a massive. He's going to have to take a pay cut. There's no way you keep him
Right.
without taking a pay cut, and then you have
Which I could
AJ.
see happening. Aaron Jones is actually a good person, and I could see him wanting to end his career in Green Bay no matter what.
Yeah, which I don't know if you already saw it though, but I checked. I saw this like one Instagram post of I think it was Packer. No, it was Lambo Leapers, and it was like saying you can create 31 million out of restructuring some of these guys, but that doesn't make
It's slippery slope. It's
that
slippery
does
slope, and it sounds like that's what he's going to do.
yeah. So
It sounds like he's going to restructure everybody. But now again, we're really killing the cap in the future when maybe we could do good. Maybe we
exactly
could be better if we don't kill the cap in the future.
exactly. I
I
mean,
don't know what the Packers do here. I don't know what they do. We've been saying let's go all in. Let's go all in. We finally went all in.
and it doesn't pay off. It didn't pay
And
off
yeah,
because if it paid off, we'd be where the Rams and the Buccaneers are right now at this point.
right,
Besides the Bucks
right.
making the playoffs, we'd be basically at like a top 5 overall pick no matter what at this point. Because if you won, I mean, I
Well,
wish we
the
could go
Rams
back.
don't have a pick, but
Yeah, but if we could, I wish we could go back. We can't. But if they won a Super Bowl, let's say either in the last 2 years, during again when they
at
beat,
least you have a Super Bowl
yeah, if they had
to
that,
look
then
and hold for it. You know,
exactly. But if I would say if Rodgers won the Super Bowl last year, if he did, he'd probably retire, and then that'd be the end of it.
I don't think he would have retired, but at least now you could have walked away
Yeah, he could have
from
walked away.
him at some point
Yeah.
and said, "Well, we got a Super Bowl from it, and we sucked, but we have a Super Bowl." Kind of what the Rams are doing.
Yep.
You know, I think the Rams are going to have some pain to pay for everything, all those draft picks they gave up. Um, but they got a Super Bowl out of it.
Yep.
The Buccaneers probably going to have some pain to pay. They got a Super Bowl out of it.
Exactly.
Uh, the Packers have a lot of pain to pay, I think, and we got nothing to show for it.
No. The only positives I do see in this from this season, despite being a disappointment from the players, is you saw the wide receivers. the majority of people after the week one, we can go with the Vikings game with Christian Watson. Everyone said most majority say, "Oh, this guy's gonna stink. He's a bust," etc. You just have to give these guys some time, and they're gonna develop. While with Rodgers' case, they don't really have much time to develop. That's really not the case because you're going all in. You're putting so much pressure on these receivers. You're putting so much pressure on these guys that are rookies, and they have to remember like stinking a million hand signals from Aaron Rodgers every Saturday morning at practice. You can ask Dominic Daphne about that on his one uh, episode I watched or listened to a bit. But there's so much like there's a bit hope. There's a bit hope, but with Rodgers, that hope is dying. With Rodgers, it's dying, but with Love, it could go.
There
It
you
could
go.
go. That's what
And
it could be.
you said, would you like to have Watson learn from Rodgers next year? Maybe. But wouldn't you really love Watson getting a
And Love.
connection with another great young quarterback that can last the test of time?
See,
Good young quarterback coming up with Watson. And I love that for Jordan Love. I wish Jordan Love nothing but a success. And um, he's on the Packers right now. So you don't have to draft somebody. You don't have to do all this, right? It would be great if Jordan Love is the guy. Now the only problem is he's late in his rookie contract. So if you
yeah,
reset that with somebody new, that would be positive. But the Packers don't have a top. They have the 15th pick in the draft. Who's the quarterback they could get at 15 at this point? I don't know. I have to do the research, right? But maybe the Packers do that this year. Maybe what they do is they let Jordan Love
you have to
play
trade him.
out this year,
Yeah, you
right?
have to. You either if he does, you have to trade him. If they draft a quarterback, then
Why?
you
Why would you have to trade him?
if
It
you're
depending on what you can get from him. If you could get something good, like a second or third round pick, yeah, take it.
then
But if they want like a fifth rounder, I'll just keep him for
then
another year.
why would you have three quarterbacks? Why would you have the three quarterbacks of Rodgers, the new draft pick, and Love? And then then people were gonna say like, oh, Love was a bust, and why did you resign Rodgers? And it was like a whole fiasco, and it's gonna like backfire on Gutekunst.
I got the answer. I got the answer. So if you were to draft a quarterback this year, do not extend Jordan Love's fifth-year option, right?
Mhm.
You bring back Rodgers because I don't really care about Love anymore. He's just kind of a placeholder. It's mean to Love, but that's your decision, right? So you say, I do not believe in Love. I'm going to draft a quarterback at 15 this year. Or maybe
Mhm.
I trade up like the 49ers do to get a quarterback, right? Now I want to keep Rodgers because I don't want Love to play next year, right? Because I'm not going to keep him anyway, right? So
Mhm.
he's my emergency guy. I don't need the new guy to be the backup. I'll put him the third, kind of like what Love did the first year, right? Where he was like the third stringer. He was never going to play, right? So he's just purely learning. He gets a year to learn from Rodgers, right?
Mhm.
Rodgers, like you said, he's a game manager. He's a veteran presence in the room. So he gives us the best chance to win next year, Rodgers, right? And if Rodgers sucks, what you do is then you bring in the young guy and play him like mid season, right?
Yeah.
With no pressure on him because the Packers sucked anyway, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
But Jordan Love comes in if the Packers do well and Rodgers goes down. Like he's the true backup, right? Because he's
Mhm.
got all of the. So if the Packers, let's say, go, you know, 12 and they're like got 12 wins, right? And Rodgers goes down, you bring in Jordan Love to use him for the end of the season, right? So he's the true backup for injury, but the third string guy, the guy they picked this year, is the real future of the team. Then it makes sense to bring Rodgers back this year. You don't give Love the fifth year option, right? You let him go at the end of the year and let him succeed elsewhere, hopefully. Um, and then you have this new guy to come play starting next year. That might be the best option for us, Jeremy.
It might be. It might be, but we have to see. We have to see what happens. I mean, my dream scenario, which I know will not happen this offseason, is we get DeAndre Hopkins, and that's no way
No,
it's gonna happen.
I don't
But
agree. I don't agree.
but if it happens, like I mean, I've loved DeAndre Hopkins, and what he's had of quarterbacks have been terrible. I mean, you can besides Kyler Murphy, you won't even guess, but like you can even go off before when Deshaun Watson came in Houston of like how many quarterbacks that man had that were like mediocre, like not even good guys. Too many. And this is like what I want Christian Watson to kind of be of like, can he play a role of like DeAndre Hopkins of like he can still be a great receiver with whoever the quarterback is. That's what I like to see out of Watson. And then Dobbs, you slowly rise up and can be a solid two receiver. That's what I'm kind of looking forward to from these two guys, from especially looking at this year, because I think Christian Watson can be amazing in the next couple of years. That's what I'm looking forward to. But in that process, you're not going to see Rodgers. We have no idea what's going to happen to Love. We have to see what happens there. But I will say there are some positives, as I mentioned, with the receivers. Rashawn Gary, he's going to get his extension this offseason, which they've definitely need pass rush for a bit. Secondary still going to be fine because you have Eric Stokes coming off, and
We
you
didn't look
have
that great this year.
yeah, but he's gonna be fine next year. You're gonna have Rasul Douglas. You're gonna have Jair back. Then you're gonna have the linebackers, which hopefully Quay Walker plays smart for the goodness sake. That was stupid of him. And you have Devontae Campbell, and then you fix that defense. You have Wyatt play more, which is something I've been annoyed with, which was re-signing Dean Lowry a couple years ago.
Absolutely.
That's the one thing I'm very annoyed about. Is like, why the heck would you not draft another guy? Because what's let me ask you,
He's a
what
lunch pail guy, Jeremy.
that's
If
what
my
I'm at.
girlfriend's if my girlfriend's watching, she's gonna find that funny. But I was talking about this yesterday. Um,
That's my
he's a
question.
lunch pail guy. That's
What
what
is he
Aaron Nagler talks about at Dean Lowry. He says he's a lunch pail guy. I don't know if you know what
what
that
is
means.
he hasn't shown me. The only incredible thing I've ever seen him done is two things. Get an interception from the Minnesota Vikings against Kirk Cousins in 2019 season, and have that ridiculous the one season with Brett Hundley against the Buccaneers, and he got a fumble running back for a touchdown. That's the only thing I've ever seen Dean Lowry.
He's a
I
lunch
will
pail guy. He comes at
exactly.
work, he brings his lunch, and he goes home.
I
Comes to
think
work, brings his lunch, goes home.
I
That's what Aaron Nagler says about him. Have you ever heard that
no,
expression that he says?
I've
Yeah, he
never heard.
called him because people will give him a hard time about Dean Lowry, and he goes, guys, he's a lunch pail guy. He comes to work, he does his job, and he goes home. He's not doing anything flashy. He's not doing anything exciting. But he just comes to work, eats his lunch. He brings the same lunch in a lunch box every day, right? A lunch pail, and he goes home at the end of the day. I, Gene Lowry never got me up in the. He never did anything for me. I'll be honest. Like, was he okay at times? Sure, but they gave him a lot of money in that contract extension
Yep,
to be a
that's
mediocre player.
exactly.
Somebody that like filled the role, like fill the hole. Like he never was anything that the expression give Kenny Clark some help. Like he was there the whole time. Like he didn't provide any help. Was he terrible? Was he the worst defensive lineman in the league? Probably not.
Yeah.
Is he somebody that I want to give that contract to? Absolutely not. Right. So like I hope he's gone at the end of the year. I think he's way outstayed his
Well,
welcome, just
I'm
money
pretty sure.
wise.
Yeah, I think he's a free agent, or
Right.
I don't
And you can't re-sign him. So
know,
I think he's seen the last of his Green Bay time.
which gives me
Which
optimism
is
to see
fine.
Wyatt.
And I agree. I think Wyatt has some upside. I don't know why they didn't play him earlier. Right? You
That's
picked
what I'm
him in the
annoyed about.
first round. Why not play him earlier? Like, why play Dean Lowry over him? That's why when Dean Lowry got hurt, I was like, fine, bring in Wyatt, right? And if he sucks, then we made a big decision. Like, we made a big mistake picking him that high. And if he doesn't suck, then that's great, right? So, and if he's mediocre and he's improving, at least he's getting some practice. So it's another interesting coaching decision I was made.
Yep,
I think we have making decisions, bad decisions in the front office and bad decisions
with the coaches.
with the coaches. I just see bad, 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 bad. The only thing that's good is that we're the Green Bay Packers
Yep, I mean that's true. That's true. I mean, the only like if we were to
and
go
Keyshawn Nixon. Keyshawn Nixon.
if he resigns, that you better if you don't resign him, that I want Gutekunst gone at that point. I'm like that. He's gonna annoy me so much if you don't.
But that's another one, right? Where like, how much are we willing to pay him to Can you hear me, by the way? I think
I
this.
can hear.
Okay, I don't know what happened. The screen is like frozen. Um, but how much is it, can you pay him? Because I don't want this to be another Rasul Douglas, Devondre Campbell situation where he has a great year, you pay him a lot of money, and then he's not that great next year. I mean, I'd love to have him on the team again, but we can't pay him too much just for
No,
kickoff returns.
no, no. But I do. Well, I think we should pay him, but at a reasonable contract. That is what I'm saying. We need to pay him at a reasonable contract. Have that going, and you have a better special teams, hopefully, still. I mean, this is, as you were mentioning, this was the best special teams we've seen probably in the past couple years from that. And what I look forward to next year, despite whoever the quarterback situation is, the defense gives me some hope, though. That's what gives me some hope of like, you see, like, there are going to be some good players with Kenny Clark, the secondary, as I mentioned, the linebackers, like, that defense is going to get better. The offense, that's the question if it's going to get better or not. And then you have to find out if who your kicker is going to be next year and your special teams. Offense is a huge question right now. And I will be very annoyed if I see another defensive player drafted in the first round of the draft when for many years I've wanted an offensive player.
I agree. Question: Can you see me? Am I moving? Because I don't see my screen is frozen.
Yeah, I can see you moving.
Odd. That's very odd.
Do
I
we
can't even click on anything.
do we remove the
Yeah,
caps?
try moving that. Yeah, that might be the problem. Can you get rid of that?
Yeah. How about now? I see you in front there.
Maybe I should try. Wow, my whole computer's like frozen. All right, so we might have to end this a little bit early. But I mean, you could hear me, so that's odd. It's very odd that you could hear me, but my whole computer's like my mouse is moving, but I can't see anything. So
Hmm.
apologies for the technical difficulties. But you can still hear me, so and apparently you can still see me, so that's interesting. Um, but yeah, I mean, so I think it's going to be interesting. It's definitely going to be an interesting off season. I don't think it's the best situation we could be in, but it's not going to be dull. There's going to be a lot to talk about, and the one great thing we have going for us is the people of the Packers Twitter, Packers fandom, um, and that's something I wouldn't give up for anything. So next year we'll be back watching the Packers and rooting for the Packers. Whether it be a fool's hope, probably. I'll be honest, but that's what we are. We're fans of a team. We show up, we root for the team, and hope they do well. And if not, then we got to look to the future to see
Exactly.
where the next route is to a Super Bowl path.
Exactly. Exactly. All right. Do we want to end it here?
Yeah, let's do that. I can't. I gotta figure out what's going on with my computer.
All right. Folks, thank you for tuning in. But before we get to that, I mean, before we close here, Mike, where can they find you as usual?
Yeah, so you can find me on Twitter, on the PackReacts podcast page, and then my personal account, which is at Arvo15. You can technically find me on Instagram at Titletown Memes, but I haven't really done a great job of staying up with that account this year. Um, and yeah, that's mainly it. I don't do many uh, articles or whatever, and obviously on the show here with Jeremy, we got to think about some nice, fun, programs we could run during the off season. Uh, and Jeremy and I got to take that one back and
Yeah.
come up with some options because the live's great, but it'd be cool if we have some other media that we could put out there to have some fun with the fans.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. All right, folks. For me, you know where to find me on my YouTube. Episodes or videos that are coming out soon. Probably be doing a Packers maybe off season video, but I mean I already did that tonight, so I'll see about that. I am uh, doing. This has been the plan for since the season has ended. Is to do a series on the greatest players of all time at each position in the NFL. And how I'd be doing that is by going through each position. Some are combined, is what I'm going to warn you about. And it's 5 players. And Arbor mentioned 5 players in the conversation, not in order. And at the end of each video and of each episode, I will pick my ultimate goat for that position. Like for safety, it could be blah blah blah, or a cornerback, it could be blah blah blah. And I'll be doing that. And right now, as I've been doing the scripts because I haven't filmed any yet. So far, I've done 6 episode scripts, and I'm just keep working that to then, and then hopefully I'll get that all done, and then I'll just be doing it as a premiere kind of thing for you guys in the off season, like for fun tunes for you guys. So that's something that's coming up in the future, though.
You doing a GOAT podcast
Yeah.
partner list? Is it just me 5 times? Or
I mean,
you have a podcast partners for the 76ers and stuff, right? So that's my
well,
competition.
I mean we don't do that anymore, really. So you're
You
the
don't do
only
that.
one. No,
Okay.
I don't do that. I don't do that. So if yeah, I could do that. You should be in my top 5 conversation, basically.
There you go. There you go. Cool. And then what was I going to say? All right. So I have a question for you. I have a question, right? Did you
Yep.
watch the Rodgers press conference
The one, the
after
one
the
with the
game? After the game in the
no, no,
Lions?
I did not.
You should go back and watch it. Anyway, somebody said as his last question was so Aaron, like if today was your last game out there, on Lambeau, wearing a uniform for the Packers, what would you miss? Right. So you can let him. I won't. I'm not going to do. Um, I'm not going to do justice to what he said because it was a pretty good answer. I got to say.
Mhm.
All right. My question for you is: if today was the last podcast we're doing here, Jeremy, what would you miss?
Of our pack reacts.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not going to be, but if it was.
If it was, I was just missing just doing the conversations with you, just doing the fun, having the fun. I'm not worrying about like the views or anything. Just having fun time with you guys, having like unique conversations with, and just putting myself out there. I just love like talking Packer stuff with everybody in football.
Agree, and my answer would be absolutely it. And I think he at first he started talking about like he made a joke basically saying I miss you guys in the
Media.
media. And he was like, he went through the list. He went like Rob, this guy said something funny about him. Like Bill Huber said something about something like this, and he just went through the list of all the media people. But at the end, he said he kept it pretty short, and I liked it. He kind of walked off after that. He's like, I'd miss the guys, I'd miss the fans. So yeah, so I'd agree. I'd miss, like you said, talking to you, Jeremy. I also miss the 1 to 2 viewers we get at a time. Whatever fans we got. But no, I think it was an interesting way to end his last press conference, possibly as a Packer, um, after a game. So
Mm.
um, I would definitely recommend going back and watching it because you could see he probably got a little bit emotional,
Yep.
um, and it was an interesting answer. But again, I don't think it's necessarily the last press conference. I don't think he walks away from $53 million.
I don't either.
So it's either we find a way to get rid of him, either through trade or some other avenue, or he's back. Unless he really surprises me and decides to walk away himself.
Yeah.
All right, let's call it there.
All right, folks, that will do another edition of Pack Reacts. Folks, as always, we appreciate you guys tuning in every week, of whoever's listening or just watching the show for fun. Appreciate you guys listening to this, and we like to do this for fun, and we will keep doing this more and more, and we'll be coming up with more fun content stuff, just besides just talking all off season of like the Packers. So we doing other fun stuff like some trivia. We'll be getting into the off season is what I've liked to do. So we'll be doing that and have some fun with you guys. But once again, folks, we'll be here next week probably, and as always, go Pack Go.
Go Pack Go.